Hello, everybody, and welcome, a very, very warm welcome to this event, which is titled Youth and Evaluation Standards, Lessons and Action for Meaningful Partnership with Youth and Evaluation. I thank everybody who has taken time out and who has joined us in this virtual session. So thank you very much for being part of this, whether as a speaker, whether as a participant. This is a wonderful opportunity for all of us. Next slide, please. My name is Rai Sengupta, and I'm one of the event moderators of the day. I'm a senior monitoring and evaluation specialist at Ecoris UK, based in London. And I have my co-moderator, which is Yemurai Nyoni, who is a youth development specialist, who will also be speaking in subsequent portions of this event. Next slide, please. As we realize, this is a virtual event, so we have a few house rules, which we would be very appreciative if you could just keep this in mind. Would appreciate if we were able to rename ourselves, our names on Zoom with country _ first name _ last name. This just helps to understand the kind of diversity and spread of participants who are joining us from different parts of the globe. So that would be very nice if you could change that in your Zoom names. The second is that if you were able to keep your microphone and video disabled, at least during the presentation, after which, of course, if there are questions, you can put it either in the chat box, and there are also options to put them later to our speakers or to our panelists in different parts of the event. So if we can just maybe keep these in mind, that will be very, very helpful. Thank you. Next slide, please. Passing on the mic to Yemurai now.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ryan. It's great to connect with you all today. It's good also to have just a diversity of representation of youth in different spaces and partners within the evaluations. We're looking forward to quite an engaging next few hour and so. So actually, to kick us off, I'd like to invite our first speaker, Nino Chokeli, who is a task force member focusing on monitoring, evaluation, accountability, and learning as a manager at People in Need, Myanmar, to introduce us to the objectives of today's event. So over to you, Nino.
Thanks a lot. Hello, everyone. Thanks for the introduction. I'm honored to open this event today. I would also like to warmly welcome all the event participants and extend my gratitude to everyone for joining and expressing your interest. And I'd also like to offer a welcome and appreciation to the keynote speaker, as well as all other speakers, panelists, and moderators of today's event. Today, we have a diverse intergenerational group of speakers from various stakeholders, which is exciting. I was a member of the Task Force for International Organizations. It was a highly inclusive and collaborative process that lasted for around 7 months and aimed to establish standards for enhancing meaningful engagement of youth in evaluation. The work of the task force continues by raising awareness around the standards, reflecting on the findings and learnings to make it more applicable and fit to purpose. Youth in Evaluation is an initiative of the Eval for Action campaign, co-led by UNFPA Evaluation Office, Eval Youth Global Network, and the Global Parliamentarians Forum. It was launched in May 2022 and is driven by the Youth Manifesto released at the same event. As part of its institutional commitment to youth engagement in evaluation, UNFPA Evaluation Office has documented insights and lessons learned from the innovative engagement of young people in the formative evaluation of UNFPA support to adolescents and youth. This virtual event will spotlight the standards and make a case for their uptake and use among various stakeholders while providing valuable practical lessons from UNFPA experience. The objectives of today's events are to create awareness of the standards for meaningful engagement of youth and evaluation, to launch lessons learned from UNFPA experience in innovatively engaging youth in the formative evaluation of UNFPA support to adolescents and youth, and to facilitate a dialogue on practical experience from the field and application of the standards. I look forward to hearing from all of you and hope to have a fruitful discussion on the standards and their further application. Thank you again for your participation, and now I'm giving the floor back to the moderators.
Thank you very much, Nino. It's helpful to hear what we are set to discuss today. I know there are two very valuable resources that we'll get to connect with and speak on today. And one of those is on lessons and experiences of meaningfully partnering with youth in evaluation. So just as we kick off, there's something that was mentioned by Nino with regards to standards for meaningful engagement of youth in evaluation. I know we've seen standards for meaningful youth engagement in different spaces. For me, it's particularly refreshing to know that we have some guidance now in terms of working with youth in evaluation. So to start us off on that part of the conversation, I will invite Gabriela Renteria Flores, who is the Eval for Action co-lead, to give us a quick snapshot of these standards for meaningful engagement of youth in evaluation. Over to you, Gabriela.
Thank you, Yamurai. Hello, everyone. Thank you all for being here with us in this celebration for the meaningful youth engagement in evaluation. It is actually my great pleasure to welcome you to this virtual event where we will embark on a journey to explore and celebrate the vital role of youth in evaluation. In May 2022, the Eval for Action campaign launched the Youth in Evaluation Initiative and unveiled the Manifesto for Meaningful Engagement for Youth in Evaluation. This manifesto represents a powerful call to action, recognizing that young people are not just beneficiaries of evaluation, but essential partners in shaping the future of evaluation. It was an incredible moment of unity as we collectively committed to redefining the way we engage with youth in evaluation processes. Along with different spaces and events, we could witness the commitment from different actors, institutions, and organizations to engage youth in evaluation. And the manifesto actually reached around 900 manifesto signatories. But we heard the same question: how do we practically engage youth in evaluation? How to? Well, building on the momentum generated by the manifesto, hearing all those voices, in 2023, this year, we took another significant step by launching the Youth in Evaluation Standards. These standards are designed to serve as a practical guide, offering a roadmap for diverse stakeholders, ranging from international agencies, governments, VOPs, academia, youth organizations, and the private sector. We recognize the differences of each of them and actually tailor one set of standards for each. These standards outline concrete steps to translate the manifesto commitments into actions, ensuring that the voice and perspectives of young people are not only heard, but actively integrated into the evaluation processes. These standards for all different actors contain 6 different dimensions that you can look and really take specific actions to engage youth in evaluation. But these standards did not emerge out of nowhere. We didn't sit in our desks and just create them. They were meticulously crafted through multi-stakeholder and intergenerational consultations. We listened to the voices of young people and collaborated with experienced professionals to ensure that these standards adapt to the specific needs and expectations of various target groups. Today, we stand here united. We have these standards, and we're ready to make a meaningful change in how we engage youth in evaluation. One shining example of such meaningful engagement is the work of UNFPA Evaluation Office that we will be hearing about today. And they have demonstrated their commitment to engage youth in evaluation by documenting insights and lessons learned from their innovative approach to evaluating UNFPA support to adolescents and youth. We'll hear today some examples of how we can bridge intergenerational gaps and harness the energy, creativity, and fresh perspectives that young people bring to the table. Today, we gathered to spotlight these standards to make a compelling case for their uptake and use among different stakeholders. So if you don't know what the standards are, just go to our website, click on the standards and really discover them. And then you will get like a roadmap, concrete actions, and some ideas to really engage youth in evaluation. We aim to create awareness about the importance of meaningful youth engagement in evaluation, but not just as a buzzword, but really as a transformative force that can lead to better decisions, more relevant policies, and more equitable outcomes. Furthermore, this event serves as a platform to share innovative practices with you all so that they can serve as an inspiration for others in the evaluation community. The stories we will hear today exemplify the spirit of the Eval for Action campaign, the Youth in Evaluation Initiative. We invite you all to actively participate, share your insights, and help us collectively advance the cause of meaningful youth engagement in evaluation. This journey ahead is exciting, and the path we're forging is one of collaboration, inclusivity, and innovation. Together, we can turn the manifesto aspirations into reality, into inspirations. Let's embrace this opportunity to shape the future of evaluation, and together we will ensure that young voices are not just heard, but truly listened into the evaluation processes. Thank you, and let us embark in this transformative journey together. Go to our website, click on the standards, discover, and let us know what examples you find about good engagement of youth in evaluation. Thanks, Yamrai, and thanks, Ravi. Go back to you.
Great. Thank you, Gabriela. Very, very motivating and inspirational in a way because of the value of these standards and the value they are able to add to the work that we do in evaluation, particularly when we partner with youth. So as Gabriela mentioned, please do familiarize yourself with the standards and the manifesto. Please do sign the manifesto and have a look at the standards. There are links being shared within the chat box. Please do have a look. There are different categories for different types of stakeholders. So be sure to make use of the ones that make the most sense for the work that you do. So at the heart of these standards is a commitment to meaningfully partnering with young people. And for that to happen, I'm sure many will agree, there needs to be some form of intergenerational partnerships that help to share power across the spectrum as it stands in evaluation. So to help us understand a bit more about the importance of intergenerational partnerships in accelerating delivery of the SDGs, I'd like to invite Maria Vasileva-Blasev, Special Advisor in the Office of the Secretary General's Envoy on Youth, who will deliver the keynote address. Welcome, Maria. Over to you.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having me today here. Good morning and good afternoon to many. I saw many countries where already it's almost the end of the day while we start off here in New York. I would like to begin by expressing really my gratitude to the co-leadership of Honorable Kabir Hashim, Chair of the Global Parliamentarians Forum on Evaluation, Gabriela Renteria Flores, Chair of Eval Youth Global Network, and Marcos Segones, the Director of the UNFPA Evaluation Office, for launching and advancing the Youth in Evaluation initiative under the auspices of the Eval for Action campaign. Furthermore, it is an honor to extend my warmest congratulations to the co-leads of the Eval for Youth campaign, the Eval for Youth Global Network, UNFPA Evaluation Office, Global Parliamentarians Forum on Evaluation, our valued partners and stakeholders, and the dynamic youth groups and young evaluators who have contributed to the success of the Youth in Evaluation initiative thus far. As we stand at the midpoint of the 2030 agenda, it is abundantly clear that young people are central to the realization of the SDG. Our recent interactions with the youth during the SDG Action Weekend earlier in September at the SDG Summit have left us with an unmistakable message that the young generation is not only willing but eager to make an active role in achieving the SDG. Their voices resonate with energy and creative insights that are essential for shaping policies and decisions that impact their lives and our collective future. It is their right and our moral obligation to ensure that these voices are not only heard but actively included in every phase of the SDG's implementation. In today's challenging times, when global issues demand rapid and effective solutions, it is really urgent that we fortify youth-led accountability processes for the SDGs. Unfortunately, this vital aspect has been overlooked for far too long. Young people have often been relegated to the periphery, with their participation reduced to mere tokenism in evaluation exercise. The time has come for a paradigm shift in our approach. It is time to give young people the substantial and meaningful roles they rightly deserve in our pursuit of a sustainable and equitable future. Overlooking the contributions of young people is equivalent to missing out on a vital opportunity to reinvigorate the implementation of the SDGs. It is absolutely crucial that we provide young people with meaningful opportunities to participate in decision-making processes where collective solutions are discussed, and that they are empowered to hold duty bearers accountable when they fall short of their promises to drive change. In the Office of the Secretary General of State and Youth that I represent today, we launched in 2022 a report titled Delivering Better from Policy to Practice, How to Strengthen Accountability Relationship with and for Young People. This report showcases how the United Nations is actively supporting young people in strengthening accountability in the implementation of the SDGs across a diverse range of countries, each facing its own unique challenges and opportunities within the implementation of the UN Youth Strategy, Youth 2030. It highlights how young people are pioneering innovative ways to engage with those who are responsible, monitor their actions, and contribute with fresh ideas, behaviors, and policy direction. At the heart of these efforts lies the strengthening of social accountability relations between young people, governments, and the United Nations. Key findings from the report underscore the commendable efforts of UN entities in supporting young people in their social accountability initiatives. However, it also underscores the concern that these efforts are sometimes undertaken in isolated silos. The report has acknowledged the commendable efforts made by governments and the UN, including the country teams, in involving young people in decision-making processes, primarily in health and education sectors. However, a persistent challenge remains in defining and measuring successful outcomes in the realm of social accountability work. Furthermore, the report offers valuable recommendations to enhance the effectiveness of youth engagement in accountability processes. I'm pleased to highlight that these recommendations closely align with the lessons learned that you will be sharing here today. Allow me to emphasize three of these recommendations which echo the fundamental principles of education. First, embracing diversity and inclusion. It is of utmost importance that as the UN, we extend our outreach beyond the usual beneficiaries. We must concentrate our efforts on supporting traditionally marginalized groups, leveraging our influence and resources to create opportunities for those harder to reach, including LGBTQI+ youth. Innovative funding mechanisms and the allocation of small grants to grassroots civil society organizations can also facilitate this social inclusivity. Second, adopting a holistic approach to youth engagement. Young people should be seamlessly integrated throughout every stage of the evaluation cycle, from its conception to implementation and outreach. If we aspire to evaluations that are genuinely transformative and inclusive, young people's contributions can no longer be only sporadic or limited. And finally, considering youth as equal partners, moving beyond tokenistic practices in evaluation remains, and deliberate commitment from all stakeholders, particularly those in position of authority. We must collectively strive to redistribute power alongside youth and address power imbalance to ensure genuine youth participation. Young people should not merely be consulted in evaluation practices. They should take the lead or co-lead the process, such as becoming members of an evaluation steering group or be integral part of intergenerational evaluation teams. As we forge ahead in our commitment to youth inclusive accountability, we are presented with a series of opportunities that will serve as a test for our ability and commitment in this endeavor. The UN Secretary General's report on our common agenda underscores the importance of meaningful, diverse, and effective youth engagement in decision-making processes. The establishment of the UN Youth Office represents a significant stride in bolstering our capacity to raise to this challenge. In alignment with the recommendations of our common agenda, our office collaborated with the Secretary General's team to develop a policy brief on meaningful youth engagement in policymaking and decision processes, which was brief was informed directly by the insights and recommendations of young people, as well as through consultations with member states and various stakeholders. This brief presents a roadmap for action. The ultimate goal is to ensure that meaningful youth engagement becomes a norm rather than an exception, and at all levels of intergovernmental decision making. This can only be realized by embracing the full spectrum of youth diversity with intergenerational support and solidarity from all segments of society. Among the proposed recommendations in the policy brief is the establishment of a permanent UN Youth Town Hall and a comprehensive program within the UN system designed to enhance diversity, representation, and readiness for youth participation. Additionally, there is a call for the endorsement of a global standard for meaningful youth engagement. The policy brief encompasses a set of guiding core principles defining meaningful youth engagement. Adopted from Youth 2030, these principles of rights-based, safe, institutionally mandated, designated, resourced, transparent, accessible, voluntary, informative, reciprocal accountability, diversity, and inclusion, and youth as partners, they're not just a slogan, but an ingrained and transformative practice within our collective mission. And lastly, as an opportunity that we foresee is the forthcoming Summit of the Future, which is scheduled for next year and aimed at accelerating international commitments, presents a pivotal opportunity to genuinely involve young people and reflect their aspirations in the intergovernmentally negotiated pact for the future. In conclusion, I would like to extend my congratulations on the launch of this publication, the lessons learned, and the premiere of the film depicting the experiences of youth engagement and formative evaluation of UNFPA support to adolescents and youth. Thank you for your steadfast commitment and unwavering attention to the cause of youth-inclusive accountability. It is undeniable that only by adopting and adhering to the youth evaluation standards and by integrating the lessons learned from effective youth engagement in accountability processes can we truly deliver on the promises of the NFG. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Maria. And I did hear strongly the call to move beyond slogans and to make sure whatever we do is substantial, particularly in partnering with youth in evaluation. I have an interest now in hearing what youth representatives have to say about this particular set of standards and release of the film we're set to premiere around UNFPA's experience in working with young people. So I'd like to actually invite youth steering committee members from the evaluation of UNFPA support to adolescents and youth. So I'm inviting Wanjiku Munyiri and Gabriela Cipriano Flores to share the pioneering efforts of UNFPA to meaningfully engage youth in this evaluation. There's more around this particular experience that will be explored in the film, but I'd like to just invite Wanjiku and Gabriela to at least take us through and prepare us for the film that we are set to watch.
Thank you, Jamurai, and also thank you, Maria, for such a great speech. I got your message about being the youth engagement being the rule, except at the exception, and being part of the youth steering committee along with Wanjiku and for other very talented young people. I can testify how that was a very life-changing experience. So to introduce myself, well, my name is Gabriela Cipriano. I'm the other Gabi in evaluation, and I'm a medical doctor from Peru, and I represented the International Federation of Medical Students Associations whilst I was doing this exercise. As said, I was part of the Youth Steering Committee that was established for the UNFPA's evaluation, looking at their support to adolescents and youth. And the reason why this committee was established was to ensure that there was more meaningful engagement of young people as co-creators in the evaluation, rather than just feel sole sources of evidence and insight. And I was really lucky to be part of this group and experience this equal sharing of power. We worked alongside the UNFPA Evaluation Office throughout the whole duration of the exercise, from the first stages, from the design of the evaluation up to the dissemination. And in our capacity, we helped to ensure that we, as young people, had a voice in each stage of this evaluation process to reflect what were priorities, our values, our opinions, and really represent our diverse identities in this exercise. what we did specifically with UNFPA evaluation managers was to provide overall guidance and direction to the entire exercise, most especially including decision-making processes. We also contributed to the conceptualization of the evaluation, including the terms of reference of this exercise. And we also ensured that the perspective of young people as ourselves was well integrated through each step of this evaluation process, as well as in the evaluation products. So to me, having the experience in this exercise helped me realize that I was a key piece of a team that bonded over an exercise that really felt like her own. I felt that the input and analysis that we provided was able to be conceived and shared because we created, along with the evaluation office, an environment of trust, professionalism, and power horizontality, which I think was key for us to have this input. And I consider that this was an innovative, but really more of an obvious next step for the evaluation office in regards to youth engagement. So to engage young people to get the best outcomes from an evaluation, stemming from, as I said, like power sharing, and also setting an important precedent for fellow UN organizations. And now I would like to pass it over to Wanjiku, as she will be providing you with more information. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Gabby. Could we please go to the next slide? And even as we do so, my name is Wanjiku Monyere, and I'm based in Nairobi, Kenya. I'm part of the Eval Youth Global Network and a very proud member of the Youth Steering Committee. You can see the 6 of us there in terms of the different geographies that we represent and local context and VOPEs that we also represent. Next slide. And some of us, Gabby and I are just representing this group. Some of them are also online. Should you have any questions for us, we're happy to respond either on chat or later on. But the creation of a steering committee composed of only young people was an experiment in many ways. Many of us have never been on a steering committee before, and I know this committee was the first of its kind for any UNFPA evaluation. We desired to document our experience from our lens as young people, the Youth Steering Committee members. So together with the UNFPA Evaluation Office, we documented lessons on engaging young people in this evaluation and compiled them into the report that you can see on your screen. Meaningful youth engagement in evaluation, multiplying the transformative power of evaluation, which is really the lessons from our experience. Another way we did this was through recording vlogs or short recordings of ourselves during the different stages of the evaluation to capture our impressions, our challenges, and our reflections in those moments. Our candid reflections are featured in this short film that you will be seeing in a few seconds, along with the recordings from the members of the evaluation team and from the UNFPA Evaluation Office. I think that our voices really bring to life the 7 lessons learned from this experience that truly embody many of the standards on engaging young people in evaluation that we are discussing today. With that, on behalf of the Steering Committee and the UNFPA Evaluation Office, I am very pleased and honored to present to you the short film on meaningful youth engagement in evaluation, multiplying the transformative power of evaluation, lessons from the UNFPA experience. It is our deep desire that you will enjoy the film.
Great, thank you, Wanjiku. Thank you, Gabriela. And right now, for the sake of time, I will invite us to all watch this video, after which my colleague Rai will carry us forward with the moderation. Please enjoy.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Hello.
Hello, everyone.
A young and emerging evaluator and a member of the Youth Steering Committee on the evaluation of UNFPA support to adolescents and youth.
I'm looking forward to sharing my experience with you.
The formative evaluation of UNDP support to adolescents and youth was released in 2023. It was the first time that UNDP evaluation engaged young people in all stages of the exercise, including as equal partners in decision-making. And I think that this experiment in engaging young people in evaluation was a true success. It made the evaluation more relevant to UNFPA as well as the young people it serves. It really gave youth a platform to share their voices and experiences, and it built youth skills in evaluation. It also placed intergenerational solidarity at the center of the evaluation process.
Young people were engaged in a variety of roles. That included oversight, decision-making, data collection, analysis. They're also involved in the evaluation as key informants. I'd say that UNFPA went the extra mile by establishing a youth steering committee that involved 6 young professionals, and they helped to steer the evaluation.
To include young people in evaluation is a game changer. That's why it's so important to create intergenerational spaces. It's a new way of working, it's a new way of doing things, and there is much to learn. We have documented in an active manner in the last year the experience, and we want to offer it to the global evaluation community. So, what have we learned? Power sharing. This is the single most important lessons learned if you really want to engage young people in a meaningful manner. Is it easy? No, it's not. That's why it must be intentional. And to make it intentional, 2 things are important. First, you need to establish spaces and mechanisms where this can happen. And that's why we established the Youth Steering Committee. Second, you need to dialogue with the other stakeholders, with your senior management, with the executive board, with ambassador member states, to explain them why you are sharing power with the young people.
I think at a larger scale, young and emerging evaluators were actively engaged in this particular research, where they were contracted to lead or facilitate the country evaluation activities or field engagement activities in the country with a lead evaluation or senior evaluator from the evaluation team. And I think that was very great because the work was not only limited to the senior evaluators, but young and emerging evaluators also had a say and a hand to directly contribute to this work, which also saw them build their skills.
So one of the main points of learning, I think, was really the intentionality of it. I've certainly never done an evaluation in this way before, and I think there were huge benefits, and particularly huge benefits to young evaluators being engaged right from the very beginning to the very end. I think there were benefits to the final evaluation product, and I think there were benefits to the learning for the young evaluators, and then also the learning for the more experienced evaluators from the young people engaged. It really was a two-way street.
Space. Clear and concrete mechanisms create space for meaningful youth engagement in the evaluation process. Although certain stereotypes might limit the participation of young evaluators by senior team members, UNFPA addressed this issue by formalizing youth engagement in the evaluation process, setting a strong foundation for intergenerational inclusion and respect within the team. So youth engagement was incorporated into the terms of reference for the evaluation, and a youth steering committee was established to ensure the representation and involvement of young people. Also, the evaluation team understood the purpose and added value of youth engagement and so created intentional space for it. We formed intergenerational teams with young evaluators to conduct the country case studies that, in the end, resulted in real and multiple benefits.
There's a lot of hesitancy and reluctancy when it comes to hiring or involving young people, especially where the matters are either technical or involve decision making. The inexperience of young evaluators is seen as a burden, especially to more seasoned evaluators. However, this was really not the case for us. As the Youth Steering Committee, we felt heard, we felt seen, we felt like our engagement mattered, and this was really because of, the clear mechanisms that were already put in place by UNFPA, but also the fact that the more seasoned evaluators really mentored us and allowed us to learn from them even as we provided our feedback. So thank you, UNFPA, for breaking the stereotype.
Diversity. When the selection process is inclusive and transparent, diverse groups of young people from all backgrounds really have the chance to engage in the evaluation. We learned that there should be a real emphasis on including youth groups that are often least represented or left behind in every aspect of the evaluation process, whether as key informants, young evaluators, or youth steering committee members. In this evaluation, we identified and targeted diverse groups of young people as well as worked with youth networks to really spread the word, all of which I think helped put together a truly representative group of young people at the heart of this evaluation.
We had members from different countries and from different age groups and from different field of works, which makes it really interesting to have group discussions about how to include youth better in their processes, because they all have a different point of view and different culture to have their perspective on.
Clarity. Be clear on the purpose of youth engagement, as well as the role and responsibilities of the young people involved in the evaluation. So, when the reasons for involving youth in an evaluation are clearly articulated, and the roles and responsibilities of all team members are defined, it helps to avoid subordination, exploitation, and more importantly, it avoids tokenistic engagement of young people. So to achieve this, the UNFPA made sure to outline and communicate the tasks and responsibilities that every team member had at every stage of the evaluation. So working together, we managed to establish the clear understanding of who does what, how decisions should be taken, and how the collaboration across generations was meant to function in practice. So by defining and clearly communicating these roles and responsibilities between young and senior team members, we created an environment for genuine collaboration.
The fact that we are involved in reviewing the TOR helped us to understand our duties and responsibilities, but not in a classical way. It is rather an exchange with the UNFPA experts. This plays a key role in learning and knowledge sharing.
I think the added value of having youth engaged in the evaluation was multiplied by the different ways in which we engage youth through the evaluation. So we had young evaluators working on country case studies with us, and not just for the data collection, but also for the analysis of the data. So what is this data actually telling us? And for me, that was super helpful, and I think it added immense value. And then of course we had the youth steering committee, and they really provided a very fresh and thoughtful oversight to the whole process, and also came up with some recommendations I think that really hadn't occurred to the older and more senior and experienced evaluators on the team.
Integration. By involving youth at the very beginning of the evaluation and integrating them throughout the process, we witness a significant enhancement in young people's capacity to make more meaningful contributions. We learned that when young people are engaged from the conceptualization of the evaluation to its design, conduct, and its facilitation of use, the value young people bring to the evaluation multiplies. But on the contrary, limiting their involvement to certain key moments in the evaluation hampers both their professional development and the overall evaluation process. At the end, comprehensive integration of young people in the evaluation results in more substantial benefits.
These preliminary phases has really been interesting. Having Karen, the evaluation manager, constantly checking in on us and following up with emails and conducting the various working calls that we have and the discussions that we have has really been interesting. And for me, this has given me comfort in my thought process and in my skills and experiences as a young and emerging evaluator to meaningfully contribute to the entire process.
Learning. This experience reaffirms that creating a dedicated space for learning and development supports young people to fully contribute in their roles. In this evaluation, young people had an opportunity to build their technical and leadership capacities. The senior evaluators held dedicated training sessions to brief young evaluators on the exercise. And there were also informal, open communication channels that I really do think help them feel confident in their contributions. From this experience, we learned that young people's learning goals should be discussed, and the evaluation process should really support building their capacity. It truly is a win-win situation for UNIP evaluations as well as the young evaluators. UNIP evaluations get to benefit from these fresh perspectives and energy of young people, while the young evaluators get a unique opportunity to build their skills and experience.
But I think what made it a little bit more special in terms of youth engagement was we were also expected to give some feedbacks about it. I think that part was the specific element of this phase, which was making it very, very youth-friendly and very, very inclusive and also interactive.
Empowerment. Through this experience, we can confidently say that the meaningful engagement of youth in evaluation amplifies youth voices, it builds their capacities, their skills, and more importantly, it empowers young people. We conducted a survey during the evaluation, and it showed us that young people greatly benefited from working with experienced professionals in the evaluation. They also benefited from the collaboration they had with their peers, as well as from the experience of working with an international organization that included a diverse group of people and perspectives.
I'd definitely say that the skill that I'm most grateful for building in this whole exercise would be meticulously going through data and identifying points of entry for youth engagement. I'd say that I was able to understand the context and see where youth engagement was constrained or supported so that our voices could be adequately represented within the evaluation. And that definitely empowered me to feel confident to conduct my own evaluation and to participate in one.
Power sharing, space, diversity, clarity, integration, learning, empowerment. These are the lessons that validate the fact that youth engagement in evaluation is a win-win for everybody, not only for young people, but for all the stakeholders, including the seniors. Only by working meaningfully with youth, we can accelerate the progress towards the Sustainable Development Goals.
Thank you, Yamurai, for passing the baton on to me. And it was, of course, wonderful to watch this film. I think this film is one of a kind, the first of its kind, and it really documents the journey of these young people in evaluation while also bringing forth intergenerational voices and experiences. And I'm sure that all the lessons from this experience and from this video, I think there were 7 that were mentioned, will be very helpful for the evaluation community to enhance the role of youth in evaluation across different contexts. This moment also marks the launch of the publication that captures these lessons on youth engagement in evaluation. Could we move to the next slide, please? And with that, we launch the standards for youth in evaluation. And this is a momentous time for all of us, given that the sort of standards for which we've been kind of working towards have now officially been launched and can be accessed on the website that has been mentioned. All right. Coming up next, we have a panel discussion a panel discussion wherein we will be having 5 esteemed panelists from across the world. These panelists will be highlighting the importance of youth in evaluation, the standards that we've just launched, their relevance, their importance in the evaluation community. And they will also be sharing very, very relevant lessons and examples on engaging youth in evidence creation, on engaging youth in evaluation studies and research. And so without further ado, I'm just going to quickly start introducing our esteemed panelists. Our first panelist is Armel Ogwini. Armel is from Benin, and Armel is an MEAL consultant and founder at Armel. So my first question, I think, to Armel to just start the panel discussion would be as follows. Armel, for you, why do you think the youth and evaluation standards are important? And what do you think is their significance? If you have further specific examples of how one can engage youth meaningfully in evaluation, it would be really wonderful if you could share that as well. The floor is yours, Armel. Thank you.
Great, thanks so much. It's a great pleasure to speak to you about our youth organization experience in engaging youth in evaluation. So right after the introduction of the standards, our initial step was to use the self-assessment tool to establish a snapshot of where we stand in each of the 6 dimensions of the standards. So that baseline assessment actually revealed us a pressing need to adopt additional creative approaches to meet and exceed the minimal standards. So from a practical viewpoint, our community actually includes 160 young people based in various countries in Western Francophone Africa. So their professional growth demands a steady learning curve spanning multi-years of practical experience to attain a level where they can generate and contribute to evaluation of exceptional quality. So for that purpose, what we did, we developed a kind of a hybrid training program that includes both remote and in-person coaching and mentoring. So as we strengthen their capacity, we connect the young people with senior consultants and experts from our network who are actually doing M&E related activities in the countries. So functions such as data analysts, data collection tools, digitalizers, enumerators, field coordinators, training facilitators are offered to the youth. So as we speak now, over 13 young members of our community have already been involved in such hands-on learning alongside the experts. And we anticipate to expand this outreach over 2024. So to also emphasize that we are launching in 2024 what we call the youth-led research projects. So through this activity, young people from 3 pilot countries will actually develop and they will direct research projects focusing on issues that matter to them. So we will equip them with the necessary resources, mentorship, guidance to conduct this comprehensive research, and the findings will be actually utilized for advocacy and also mobilizing resources among other uses. So this methodology for us not only promotes autonomy and skills in terms of analysis and conducting researches, but it also ensures that studies queries and techniques actually mirror the interest and viewpoint of the youth we engage. So meaningfully engagement of youth in evaluation will not only enhance decision-making abilities, but it will also empower our young generation to be active and responsible citizens. So in short, that's what I'll respond to your questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Armel. That was very, very interesting. And it was very, very interesting to hear about the kind of inspiring work that you're doing in actually involving young people in taking an active interest in evaluation, but also implementing it and kind of learning it through the online and offline model. So that's very, very interesting and wonderful to hear about your work. My next panelist is Raquel Herrera. She's a board member of RELAC. Raquel, hello. Very nice to have you here. And I think similar to what the question I asked to Armel, what do you think is the significance of involving youth in evaluation, particularly through the use of these standards? And perhaps you could share some best practices and case studies of how you may have done that or encountered that in your work. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Ray. Good morning, everyone. Nice to meet you all from Costa Rica. Well, I am chair of Eval Youth in Costa Rica and also a board member of the Evaluation Network of Latin America and the Caribbean. So I have like, both perspectives of the work. And as some of you have mentioned before, the standards of meaningful engagement of youth are crucial because they establish clear guidelines and expectations and a clear and unified global framework for work. And basically from RELAC, we are like in the first stages of this implementation. So as the G community values the construction, debate, reflection, and the learning spaces, and also from a local perspective, that's very important to emphasize, RELAC has directed like the first efforts around this matter to impose participatory spaces, first to discuss these standards with the national BOPIs and the ones that have signed the manifesto, first for translating them to Spanish and to also bring him to this particular context and to the particular context of every BOPE of these from Latin America. And also because we wanted to talk about how to incorporate them into the strategic plans of each BOPI, according to the particular social, economical, and political context of each of our countries. But overall, the most important thing is keeping in mind that the knowledge production and the knowledge interchange is only possible in spaces with the intergenerational interaction. I think the standards have empowered the GIS, the emerging evaluators, to give us more confidence and to create our own spaces, to share our voices and our perspectives. And also have given us a bigger vision of what is happening worldwide, not just in our country or in our region, but worldwide, and to tell us what is possible and what we should be asking for and what we're pushing for. And another example is what is happening in Eval Youth Costa Rica, that we have this podcast that is conducted by GIS and for GIS with the main topics that we are thinking that it's important to highlight, and that has given us a very important window in our community in the region. So I think that the important thing is to recognize that this working that we are doing right now, it's important because it's just the right thing to do. It's important to just give that space and have that voice, and that's something that the standards have really opened the door for us.
Thank you so much, Raquel, and I completely agree that it is the right thing to do. I really liked the focus that you had in your speech about fostering intergenerational interaction, and particularly your perspectives from the Latin American region are very, very valuable to our panel discussion. So thank you for that. I would now like to call upon my third panelist for today. I have Cher Watson. Cher is a member of the Caribbean Evaluators and Eval Youth North America. Cher, I think, we've been talking a lot about the standards and, we're all working in the evaluation space. So do you think that if you had something like the standards at the time when you joined this sector, would that have been helpful for you as a young and emerging evaluator?
Greetings, colleagues. Yes, I spent a significant time trying to transition into the field of evaluation after my studies. And later benefiting from professionalization opportunities through, Caribbean Evaluators and Eval Youth Mentorship Program. So I eventually became a part of this community. For that reason, when I became an evaluator at a youth organization, I felt a responsibility to be young people's introduction to the field. Looking back, I believe that adherence to youth and evaluation standards would have facilitated a clearly mapped ecosystem, welcoming me as a new evaluator, where Eval Youth networks are seen as hubs for budding new talent to recruit from and nurture. It would have normalized collaborations with ease across multiple platforms, moving them from observers to practitioners. And at the youth development organization where I worked, it would have ensured that youth participants were co-designers and budgeted for as such. They could shadow and eventually hold leadership positions, or transfer that knowledge elsewhere, perpetuating a virtuous cycle of opportunities. So, you know, I want to take this opportunity to call on youth organizations uniquely positioned to understand the challenges that youth like myself face, to be intentional through standards, to equip future evaluators to respond to our world's growing needs. Thank you, and over to you. Bye.
Many thanks for that really inspiring speech. I think we all echo the sentiment that when we talk about the future, we need to be generating evidence that is very robust, that is well triangulated, and that is kind of owned essentially by the young evaluators who would be working in those processes of generating that evidence and conducting those evaluations. So, and I guess that to do that, we need to involve and equip young people from now for the future. So I love that futuristic tone in your speech, and I think that's very, very relevant for our discussion. And with that, I would like to call upon our last panelist for today. I have Sandra Albert joining in from India. She is the director of the Indian Institute of Public Health, Shillong. Sandra, if I could maybe just ask you to perhaps summarize some of your thoughts on the relevance of these standards for youth and evaluation, and perhaps any best practices that you may like to share regarding how to better equip youth for being more active participants, co-designers and co-managers of evaluation processes. Thank you.
Thank you, Rai. I think what I would do is actually share some of our experience. So greetings from the Indian Institute of Public Health in Shillong. We are located in India in the Northeast region. I do not really fall into the youth category, but I lead a very young institution with more than 90% of my team who are certainly falling into the category of young professionals. We are a research and educational institutions. And in our region, we have communities belonging to myriad ethnicities. In India, they're referred to as tribal communities or indigenous populations, as it's known in the world, across the world. And this area is often described as underdeveloped, and often we, at least in the past, we often saw that people would come in from elsewhere, helicopter in, and do some quick studies, which at best can be described as quite superficial. Hence, in all our research initiatives, and in some sense, this is why the institution was set up and as it's built, capacity building is an extremely important part of it, of young people. We train local youth to ask questions, or that's the aim at least, to ask questions that are relevant to them and their communities by fostering experiential learning and leadership building. So in some sense, that is the, so in some sense, the principles espoused by the youth and evaluation is a way of life for us, for our institution. That's what we try to do every day. We also, from our educational perspective, we are also running bachelor's and master's in public health programs, which of course, a lot of it has to do with, or at least there's certainly one module in which we give them intense skills on, so that their capacities are built to take up monitoring, to take up evaluation as professionals. Some of the guiding principles that we use that underpin what we are trying to do is an understanding that the nature of public health interventions is often complex. Our knowledge base on implementation is often incomplete at best. A part of evaluation's role is to bring this knowledge into implementation. And for that, we need to engage with complexity and with heterogeneity. And I think heterogeneity and engaging with it is something that is easy to say, much more difficult to pull off. So evaluation needs to have a strong local lens, and so that you engage with the local actors in some sense. While external perspectives are, of course, valuable and needed, evaluation needs to have that strong local lens to be sustainable and beneficial in the long run. So in that sense, sensitizing young researchers and giving them the experience through all the various experiential learning occasions is one way to go about building the skills, building the leadership that's required. And of course, we all recognize that evaluation needs specific skills in various aspects, particularly pertaining to evaluation per se, as in taking up research, but it also is in the other softer, sometimes softer skills, and skills with engaging and connecting with other research and other researchers, communication skills to make what they've learned, or to make the recommendations that are implementable, especially when you relate to policy at the policy level and at a practical level. And so in some sense, evaluation needs to be evaluators, and evaluation needs to be more versatile and adaptive. And I think I probably are running out of time, so I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra, for your speech, and particularly for highlighting the importance of having a local lens, because as much as we would want evaluations to be external and also to be independent, it is also important to embed many of our insights and understanding of evaluation processes within the local context. So thank you for highlighting that, and also how important it is to involve youth in localizing evaluations at early stages. I really appreciate that. With that, we come to a close to our panel discussion. I thank all of my panelists for a very, very interesting and very, very engaging panel. Thank you so much for sharing your insights, your case studies, your stories from different regions across the world, and but of course, it's great to see that we're all united by that one mission, which is, of course, involving more and more young people in evaluation processes. So big round of applause for all my panelists. Thank you so much. Moving on now to the next segment, we have a dialogue with the audience, wherein essentially we want to hear more from your side. Till now, the audience has been a very, very patient one. You have been listening to our speakers, to our panelists, you watched the video, and clearly you are people who are very, very interested and passionate about being involved in evaluations or involving youth in evaluation, right? And so the next few minutes are going to be spent about understanding what your perspectives are, what your sort of insights are on involving youth in evaluation. So the way we will function is as follows. We would request you to either raise your hand if you want to share some insights on how best to improve the uptake of the youth in evaluation standards, or you can put that in the chat box. But the primary question to you is that how do you think we can involve more and more youth in evaluations, and how do you think we can enhance and expand the use of the youth in evaluation standards, which have just been launched a few slides back? How do you think we can expand the use of those standards? So if you want to speak, you can just raise your hand and one of my colleagues will be able to unmute you and help you speak. If you want to share your insights on the chat, that's also completely fine. Do let me know. But the question to you is, how do you think we can increase the uptake, the use, the access of the youth and evaluation standards in the evaluation world? Over to all of you audience members. The standards have just been placed within the chat as well, in case you want to refer to them. But clearly, you all are very, very passionate about wanting to enhance the role of youth in evaluation. So we just wanted to hear your perspectives on how you think these standards that have just been released, how can they be made more available to people? How can we expand their access and reach? How can we make sure that more and more organizations, institutions, and stakeholders use these standards to involve youth in evaluation? All right. So we have our first responses coming in. Ernest is mentioning that capacity building is needed for the youth to master the terminologies of evaluation. Celine has also raised their hand. Could one of the producers please help to unmute Celine? Yes, Celine, please.
Hi, everyone.
Yes, hi, Celine.
My name is Celine. I'm a youth advocate, or rather a youth delegate in mostly gender equality, but I also stand in for any kind of youth talks. So our speaker has just asked us on how we can increase the uptake of the youth in the evaluation standards. So, and I was thinking we could have like capacity building, like where we could be offering trainings, like workshops, to enhance the skill set of these young individuals who are interested in evaluation, and to also provide access to the resources and the mentorship and the practical experience to actually build their confidence and expertise in this field. Because at the end of the day, we have seen that we need their input in every aspect of evaluation for it to be actually meaningful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Celine. That's very, very helpful. I think you are also echoing what Ernest mentioned, which is about capacity building. And I like your point about involving the youth at every stage of the evaluation and kind of grounding the evaluation in youth-led strategies and methodologies. So that's very helpful. There is another message that has come in about how it is important to provide harmonized or standardized tools for evaluation, which has come in from Abdi Kadir Mohammed. That's very important. Irene mentions that mentorship programs that are inclusive of educating youth and their effective roles of evaluation is important. So again, echoing the need for capacity building and mentorship so that young people are actually empowered and equipped to make sure that they make the best use of their skills and capacities in evaluation spaces. Then there is another point by Billy, which is essentially about, again, enhancing engagement by, let's say, awarding certifications, providing other kinds of incentives in the professional space in order to get more people to be involved in evaluation. In case any of the other panelists also wish to answer this question, I would also allow and open the floor for that as well. The question I would like to repeat for the audience members, the panelists and other speakers is that how do we increase the uptake of the youth and evaluation standards that were just released? How do we make sure that these standards are more widely utilized across different institutions, organizations, and stakeholders so that more and more young people find careers within the evaluation space? So we have a lot of great ideas coming in, including advocacy of the standards, with people, organizations and sectors signing up for the Eval for Action campaign, embracing the standards within their spaces. Through that, youth and evaluation will become the norm. Thank you, Chiku, for that wonderful recommendation. We also have Safiya Shah from Pakistan, who's raised their hand. Safiya, please let us know your thoughts on this as well.
Hi, Rai. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, I can.
Thank you so much, and thank you for these questions and this wonderful work you guys are doing. It's such a pleasure to see this inspirational and very insightful. So what I was thinking of in terms of the questions you asked is that I think it's really important for uptake to remember that when teaching, it's something that's being taught as a skill, not a subject. So oftentimes what ends up happening is that people learn something and they think that we just need to follow standards to the T. We shouldn't ask, we shouldn't question. The static document cannot, grow, it can't evolve. And that means it becomes more of a subject rather than a skill. and it's just teaching people more critical analysis, how to question things, and therefore what I think Celine had mentioned earlier about giving feedback, so that this document and these standards don't remain a static document. They keep evolving in terms of there's iterative learning. So I think that would be really important because, again, trans-languaging, all these for communication is also, I'm sure, something you guys have approached. That's why I'm saying it's important to teach as a skill and not a subject, because sometimes these things get lost in translation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for that. And that's a really nice point that you raised about teaching it like a skill rather than a subject. I think that's very, very useful to help young people understand that essentially evaluation is something that can be applied across different sectors, and it is a kind of technical skill and specialization which helps individuals and professionals actually view evidence in different ways. So that was a very interesting point that you raised. Thank you so much for that. And I'm sure that is one of the key ways through which these standards can be made more expanded and accessible to other organizations and stakeholders. Any other sort of insights on how to increase the uptake of these standards to involve youth in evaluation? We have a few more minutes before we take a group picture. We have wonderful suggestions coming in from our audience members. Rauf is mentioning that it is important to create an open source site where we can simulate our data from logical frameworks to surveys and facilitate decision making. So that's a very interesting way of integrating technology into evaluation processes. We have another suggestion coming in from Taipei, which is compiling and sharing good practices on the Evaluate webpage along with youth and evaluation standards. That's again very, very helpful because that would allow for concrete examples on take-up. That's again interesting. We have Tashi, who mentions that inclusivity is very, very important. It's important to ensure that there is a youth participation that is encouraged and enhanced from different nooks and corners across the world, and for ensuring that evaluation standards are presented in a clear manner. Very, very helpful once again. Any last minute thoughts and suggestions from the audience members? Because so far these have been absolute gems. So any last minute thoughts? Anybody else who wants to unmute themselves? Any other points that you wish to add? Yes. Abdikadir, yes, please. Are you able to speak? Yes.
Yes, and thank you so much for this opportunity. I just want to give one comment to maybe an advice to probably UNFPA and country level or even regional level. Like they need to involve youths in all evaluation, all project evaluation. So it has to trickle down to and country offices, regional offices, field offices in terms of engaging the youth and evaluation and monitoring of the projects, data collection, all these activities. So basically, that's an advice to UNFPA. I think to trickle down evaluation tools and engagement of meaningful youth again to field offices and down offices, the country offices there. Basically, I'm in Somalia, so that's my point to UNFPA. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that. And thank you, audience members, for your wonderful suggestions and comments. Very, very valuable, very, very helpful. We would now like to take a quick group photo. So if everybody could please switch on their cameras and put on their best smiles, then we would just be able to capture this moment when we were all kind of together for unveiling the standards for youth and evaluation, as well as having these wonderful speeches and conversations. So yes, lovely to see everybody's faces. Everybody's looking quite happy after almost 1.5 hours of hearing people speak. So that's good. All right. My colleague Bikem, would you be taking the picture?
I'm taking some photos and some other production team members are too. So everybody, please give us big smiles. There's so many of us, so we're going to have to do this in batches. So keep the smiles up for a couple more seconds. So I'm taking a photo and 3 and 2 and wow, there's so many people. It's so amazing to see all of you. Please keep the smiles up and here we go. And 3 and 2 and I think we got it. Thank you so much, everybody.
Great, great, great. Thank you so much, Bikem, for that. Thank you, everybody, for all those wonderful smiles. It's great to see everyone smiling away. And finally, we are almost at the end of our virtual event, and we would like to now have some closing remarks. So I would now like to invite the Eval for Action apologies. I would now like to invite Marco Segone, the Director of the UNFPA Evaluation Office, to deliver some closing remarks, please. Over to you, Marco.
Thank you very much, and greetings to everybody by a former young evaluator. I'm really very glad to be here with you today to this very important event. Very important event because it marks an important milestone for us as we unveiled a publication and film spotlighting the power of intergenerational collaboration in a major UNFPA evaluation. This experience highlights what is possible when we bring together the wisdom and experience of seasoned professionals with a dynamic vision, energy, and innovation of young people, a process where young people and young voices are not only heard, but actually they are embraced and valued. These resources capture the lessons learned in this journey. We offer it to the evaluation community as a set of ideas, action, and lessons that uphold and surpass the youth in evaluation standards. We really hope that our experience will inspire the evaluation community to further adopt and uphold the youth in evaluation standards. So what was the main critical lessons in this experience? You know, for the first time in UNFPA and in the United Nations system, young people were involved in the evaluation, not only as key informants, but also as evaluators, and most importantly, as co-managers and co-decision makers, facilitated by the establishment of the Youth Steering Committee. This meant that the UNFPA Evaluation Office had to concede and share power with young people in a formal institutional process. In this case, a centralized evaluation of one United Nations agency to be presented to the executive board that is composed by the ambassadors of the different member states in the world. So among the 7 lessons learned that you have heard about, this was the most critical lessons. We must be intentional in rebalancing and sharing power dynamics and power relations as a foundation for meaningful youth engagement in evaluation. So as a closer, in the closure of the meeting, let me reiterate the call for the adoption and use of the standards. The Youth in Evaluation Manifesto has an impressive 900 signatories since its launch in 2022, just 1 year back. If you have already signed the Visionary Manifesto, I urge you to adopt and uphold the Youth in Evaluation standards within your organization as a key tool to fulfill the Manifesto core commitments. For those yet to endorse the Manifesto, I extend a sincere invitation to join the Youth in Evaluation movement and embrace the standards, which are readily accessible to organizations across all sectors. In the end, I really would like to call for fortifying intergenerational and multi-stakeholder evaluation alliances that place youth at the heart of evaluation. To drive the evaluation fields forward, we must cultivate a culture that champions inclusivity and diversity, starting with the meaningful engagement of youth in evaluation. So let me close really with thanking you, the young moderators and all speakers and attendees across generations that joined the rich dialogue today. and really my deep appreciation to the young evaluators from the Asia Pacific that have provided outstanding production support to this event. So thank you very much, and we are all together in this to make sure that young people will be more and more at the center of evaluation. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Marco, for that very, very inspiring speech. And I completely agree that the need is to be very, very intentional about our actions. So thank you for reiterating that. And as a young person, as a young and emerging evaluator, I'm inspired, and I'm sure that others in the audience are inspired as well. I would now like to call upon the next speaker. The next speaker is Kabir Hashim. He is the chair of the Global Parliamentarians Forum for Evaluation. Kabir, the floor is yours for delivering the closing remarks, please.
Thank you so much for having me on behalf of the Global Parliamentarians Forum for Evaluation to make some closing remarks. I was so surprised and inspired by the amount of ideas that came out in this short time from young people. As becoming engaged in evaluation as a policymaker in 2013, from that time onwards, I've seen lots of changes in the field, in the sphere of evaluation. It's like a jigsaw puzzle coming together little by little, the pieces coming together and the picture getting completed. And today I saw that that picture is near completion now. Because when people said that policymakers are not interested in evaluation, the Global Parliamentary Forum for Evaluation engaged politicians, parliamentarians. And today we have young parliamentarians working in the field of evaluation in many parliaments, and even in my own parliament, working towards using evaluation as a tool. Because it is very important, because parliaments play an essential role establishing conditions for SDGs, for plans, for policies and programs, by virtue of the fact that parliaments have the legislative power, the budgeting power, and the oversight functions. And young people getting involved becomes important, because engaging parliaments ensures that there is accountability. Furthermore, another part of the jigsaw got completed recently. Nigeria sponsored a resolution at the United Nations asking for country-led evaluations for SDGs. And smaller countries took this challenge, developing countries took this challenge. And now that is becoming a part of the process, because country-led evaluations ensure ownership, ensure multi-stakeholder participation, ensure capacity building, and ensure also engagement at subnational level. And it also engages the youth in those particular countries. There's no better way now. So it's becoming stronger. So in that sense, what I would tell the youth is the positive changes that you make in your life will make an impact and inspire more young people around you to do the same in their lives. And it becomes important, because that positive source of inspiration comes to others. So you must choose one or two different ways to make that change, to better yourself and persist with those changes. And I believe that this evaluation, the field of evaluation, is one sure way of making sure that the limited resources that we all are competing for in this time is used to the maximum benefit of the people around us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kabir, for that wonderful speech, and for reiterating the need for country-led evaluations, and also for making sure that evaluations are a pathway so that the limited resources, as you mentioned, are used for the highest kind of social impact and equitable distribution. And one of the resources being power, and power sharing with young people is of strategic and imminent importance, particularly in the evaluation space. So thank you so much for reiterating that. In closing, I would like to invite Miroslava Munoz of EvalYouth LAC to please deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Rai. Greetings to everyone. It's my great pleasure to close this great event. First of all, I would like to thank Maria Vasileva-Blasev, Special Advisor, Office of the Secretary General's Envoy on Youth, for delivering the keynote speech. I thank the speakers Nino Shokeli, Wanjiku Monjuri, Gabriela Cipriano, Armel Oguni, Raquel Herrera, Cher Gibson, and Sandra Albert for their wonderful inputs to make the event vibrant. Let me also thank Eval for Action co-leaders, Gabriela Renteria, Marco Segon, and Kabir Hashim for their guidance, leadership, and inputs to make this event a success. The moderators, Rai Segomta and Jemurai Nayoni, should be appreciated for great moderation. I haven't forgotten you all who participate this event today, despite your other commitments. And finally, let me thank all our producers for their hard work to handle the event from the back end. The full inclusion of young people in the evaluation is a powerful tool for education and empowerment that will allow us to confront global challenges. Real and meaningful engagement provides an unparalleled opportunity to make development programs responsive to the needs and demands of the youth, driving evaluation as a transformative force for inclusive, equitable, and sustainable development. As a young evaluator, I invite you all to take an active role in supporting, appreciating, and empowering young fellows in every step we take. Finally, I want to express my gratitude for giving me the opportunity to participate, and all the participants for your presence today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Miroslava, for that. Could we move to the next slide, please? With that, that's our production team. Thank you to the production team as well. And we thank you all, wonderful audience members, for being a part of this. It's been a pleasure spending time with you today to explore lessons from youth partnership and evaluation, and from hearing all of these perspectives, ideas, and experiences from across the world. In closing, we would like to please reiterate the call to action, which is about please sign our manifesto and adopt the standards to include more and more young people in evaluation. You can access the standard and the manifestos on the websites that have been provided. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it, and have a wonderful rest of the day.